All right, it is 7 o'clock p.m. It is the appointed and advertised time for the May 20th, 2019 Aleppo Township Commissioners Meeting. I call this meeting to order. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
President Vogler?
Present.
Vice President Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Williams?
Present.
Commissioner Darrow? Commissioner DeFalvo? Present. Solicitor Stone?
Here.
Manager Patterson? Here.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate you giving up this beautiful evening to come out and participate in your local government. Before we get started, let me remind everybody that this meeting, like most Aleppo Township meetings, is streamed live onto the internet and recorded. So what that means is that folks may or may not be watching from home that we don't see here. So we have a fairly good crowd here tonight, but there may also be people that are watching at home. So you don't know who they are and you don't know what they're thinking or doing. Also, at the end of this meeting, as soon as the meeting ends, the recording automatically posts to YouTube, where it is available by anybody, anywhere in the world, at any time, forever in the future. So all that taken together means be on your best behavior because you can't take back what you say. So with that warning out of the way, I will entertain a motion to approve the May 13th, 2019 workshop meeting minutes.
I move to approve the May 13th, 2019 workshop meeting minutes. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. Let's turn to our reports, please. Start with fire.
Everyone?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Please.
Okay. Before you use the report for the summary of calls for 2018. First, I want to apologize for not being here in the prior months, but usually early months of the year we do our certified training, so that's why I couldn't make the first couple of months. But anyway, before you is the call sheet. Just a brief description. As you can see, fire company responded to 222 calls last year. The breakdown of calls between Aleppo and Swickley Heights. Aleppo Township had 77 calls, Swickley Heights had 80. If you notice on the first column where it says total number in the middle of the page, we have in parentheses 65. 65 is assisting other agencies, whether it's structure fires or just mutual aid. 65, 52 or 53 of those calls were just to Swickley. They had a problem with their ladder truck last year. It was out of service for 3 months, so we were on a cover assignment for those guys. You'll notice assisting other agencies, that numbers have gone up in the past couple of years, just due to the part that everybody's experiencing lack of manpower. So what the county's actually doing, requesting us to build out our alarms, our run cards, to where instead of just one company responding, it's multiple agencies just because of the manpower situation. Commercial assignments, they're requesting up to 7 companies for just a fire alarm activation, which I think is ridiculous, but that's what they want, just to get enough people there. We have not changed our run cards yet. We're kind of holding out to the very end. We still have the manpower that we can staff 2 trucks to a call, but in the event that it comes to the point where we're not pulling the manpower that's needed, then we'll have to be forced to change our run cards as well. You can see on the bottom of the page in the past years, I've just included the number of calls in the past years down to 2010. You can see they slowly have gone up. That's just the nature of it. Different format than what we had last year and the year before. Page 2 through, I think 2 through 7. This is the new reporting system that we're using now. The prior years we were using a software-based company called Firehouse. This new software is called emergency reporting. So what you see in front of you, this is what gets reported back to the state. Every fire company has to report their calls to the state, and this is the reporting system that they gave us. So it has just generic terms on the incident type. If anybody sees any particular call, we can definitely go back and I can actually pull the actual report for that call. Like I said, these are just generic terms that they use. That's basically it for 2018. You can see the commercial fire alarms, 20. I can't remember what we had last year, but those numbers have gone up a little bit. Vehicle accidents, there was 25 of them, mainly the interstate. We respond to a lot of the interstate calls. If there's any questions on 2018. So far, 2019, just a brief summary. So far, we ran 78 calls, 42 in Aleppo and 36 in Sewickley Heights. Most of the calls are storm related. Storm related. When we get the storm surges come through, typically they'll call us out after hours when the road department's on duty. We'll go out and remove trees, especially with down power lines. We'll try to secure the scene, wait for whether it's Duquesne Light, Verizon, Comcast, whoever. We did just receive 3 new we had to let 2 people go last year at the end of the year due to lack of participation. We just took 3 new members just signed up last month, so we're happy about that to bring those on. One of them is an actually certified firefighter. The other one is a father and son from the neighborhood, so they're anxious to get in and get their training and be a part of the organization. Tomorrow night is the first night we're actually formed a truck committee. We're looking to replace the engine. The engine is a 96, it's 23 years old. For that type of vehicle, it's a 25-year vehicle. So between the speccing it out and ordering it, we're looking at probably a minimum of 2 years. So that's what we're starting. That's tomorrow night. The line officers and 2 members at large through the company are going to take part in that and speccing the vehicle out. And estimated cost of the vehicle is roughly $450,000 to $600,000. Our vehicle, our 96 Freightliner that we have now, cost us $149,000 when we bought it in 96. So just to see the difference in the vehicles from then till now is it's ridiculous. All the mandates they put on the vehicles. That's all I have for a report. If there's anybody who has any questions.
Two quick ones. Is there anything that the township can do to help?
You want to pay for the truck? That'd be great.
Good. Is there any advice that you can give residents that would also help you?
If anybody's interested in coming and joining up, we would definitely use the manpower. Yeah, it's and we have there's people think that the fire department is just firefighters, and it's actually not. We have executive boards, we have board of directors. There's multiple positions in the fire company. You don't have to be an interior firefighter. We have drivers, the guys that just drive the trucks, pump operators, scene safety. You don't have to be just an interior firefighter. One thing, well, I can wait till the end. Yeah.
All right,
That's it.
great. Thanks very
Bill.
much.
Thank you.
Next report is public safety.
Good evening, everyone.
Chief.
Evening.
All right, excuse me. For the month of April, we had a total of 100 calls for Aleppo Township. Of that, of note is 33 EMS, medical assistant calls. We had 35 traffic citations issued throughout the month of April in various locations throughout the township. Of note, there was a few suspicious circumstances. One was suspicious auto, Just right across here, just was an employee taking a break. We had a suspicious circumstance at a residence off of, I think it was Merriman Road, excuse me, it was Glen Mitchell Road. Cleaners, new hired internal cleaners went to the wrong address. They were located at another house right next door. They just got their houses and addresses mixed up. No, unfortunately, they didn't for the homeowner. I'm sure they wish they would have, but no, there was none of that. On the UCR report, it's listed as a burglary. However, it is what I would call a criminal trespass complaint off of Redgate Road. A very aware resident noticed a gentleman going inside of a unoccupied residence off of that street. Knew that the man did not belong there, called police, and we responded quickly. Noticed a male inside, huddled around a heater, just trying to kind of stay warm. We entered, made contact with the gentleman. He had warrants out already for his arrest. We arrested him. Spoke with the property owners, who obviously did not give the gentleman permission. Long story short, criminal case is still ongoing, can't comment a lot on it. It is our understanding the gentleman was just waiting to meet his girlfriend at another road down the street. Shields Lane, I believe it is where she resides at. And he couldn't get to her house, so he decided to go into this unoccupied structure to keep warm and do what he was doing. So nonetheless, he was arrested, and that case is ongoing. That pretty much wraps it up for the month of April. In addition to the radar device sign has been throughout a couple different streets in Aleppo. I think it is currently still up at McCoy Road. There would be time to pull that down and move it again to another location. But it's making the rounds. All my radar signs are out amongst all the different jurisdictions. We're trying to hit the locations that have complaints and make it visual for people. So, anything for me tonight?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Thank you. All right, next is emergency management.
We had a busy couple months. We concluded the COG kind of get together with all the neighboring municipalities. I've met with Osborne, Hayesville, and Glenfield. Glenfield and Osborne currently now have EOPs out of nowhere. They also have their NIMS compliancy. Osborne will be voting on it tomorrow night, I believe, is their meeting. Glenfield just had their meeting, so they'll be voting on it the next meeting, and they'll go to the county. Just kind of a footnote, the next meeting of the COG to discuss the next step to coming up with EOPs for those neighborhoods is in October. We're kind of done. Thanks to Michelle for giving us a hand and coming for that. Michelle did attend the educational conference, which gives her the same certification that all of you guys got doing the online thing. You have to hand it to her. She sat through a 3-hour, very long presentation to get that certification. But all of our commissioners, we are only one municipality within those 9 that, Michelle was there when they put the numbers up, that are compliant with all of our commissioners being certified in NIMS. So that's a big deal, actually. You have before you tonight 2 things. One is the adoption of the EOP. That actually is not due until the fall, so that can easily be voted on next meeting. All it is some changes of some contact numbers. We added the reference to the Masonic EOP, which is part of our resource manual. And other than that, there's really no changes. You can vote on that next meeting. The NIMS resolution that you have before you is just a change in the form that you signed late last year. That's the resolution that says if we have a disaster, we will utilize that incident command system that we trained on, that we will be compliant with everybody else in the county, everybody else in the state, everybody else in the United States. They just changed some wording on the form, and it came down from FEMA, and they asked everybody else to do it. And that's the only thing that we have outstanding that is showing in our non-compliance. So if you guys could do that tonight, I'd really appreciate it. We have a couple changes, big changes actually. Masonic has a complete EOP that I just reviewed and I'll be sending to the county. That's a big step forward for those guys. I'm going to meet and help present that in August to their people and talk about emergency management, et cetera, in response to Masonic. The school, if and when we see Northway, will change our emergency management quite a bit in that we'll be required to have an active shooter in our EOP, and there's 4 or 5 other responses that will be required to document in our resource manual that we've educated to within our first responders that we currently don't do. So I'm sure that Ohio Township has a lot of that, and I'm sure that John will allow me to steal some of it. And so it may not be as much work as it sounds, but we're gonna have to get that implemented. Let's see, what else? Oh, we also have World Vision's EOP. I was able to get that. I haven't been able to reach anyone at Amazon. I'm trying to figure out what they're storing over there, et cetera, for our hazard vulnerability assessment, which will be due in the fall. So I need to get a hold of somebody over there. And the other one is actually a question. The Code Red system, we need the ability to send out information mobile. So either myself or Bull to be able to say, you know, hey, shelter in place on Swickley Heights Drive, or, you know, Merriman at Redgate or whatever needs the shelter in place. So the two of us need to get together with whoever has that information to figure out how to do that.
Gwen, there's an app. Gwen
Okay.
can show you what to do, and if not, we can definitely get you in touch with Code Red folks.
Fabulous.
Yep.
Fabulous. Any questions for me?
Anybody?
Good deal.
Nope. Thanks very much.
Always, yeah, very nice.
So Judy just asked to adopt the NIMS resolution. That is not a motion that is listed on your agenda, so,
Let's take that up in new business.
okay.
Okay, Public Works.
Evening. As you can see on what we've done, we fixed the Yard Township building from Amazon's trucks and stuff through the winter. Get that all patched up again. We cut back brush on the sides of Hill Road, and then we've been cutting up trees and branches on Deer Run, Glen Mitchell, and started cleaning up in the park, brush and trees. And we've been cutting grass throughout the township because we got behind with all that, with all the rain and stuff. We've been playing catch up on grass cutting. And Glen Mitchell, last week, we weed whacked both sides of the road going down. All the waterways that are sticking out in the traffic, so that's ongoing. So that's what we're working on now. Any other questions on anything, or?
I actually do have a question. When you guys were doing Glen Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
I had like this huge concern about you. I almost put my car sideways in Glen Mitchell. Is there a way to cone you guys or something?
We have signs
'Cause they've
up,
come
plus
pretty
the
darn
truck.
close to you.
I mean, we put the signs up. The only other option we have now is we'll have to hire flag people.
I was just wondering. if you
I mean, it's a favor to the county that we're doing it.
You were really in a dangerous situation there a couple times.
The road's dangerous
Yeah, I
any
was
day that
like,
we could
holy
go on
heck.
it. But I mean, it would come down to, we'd have to hire full-time flaggers, which isn't cheap. So, I mean, and to wait on the county to do it, it's not gonna get done. So I, open for suggestions.
It was just my hopeful question.
Yeah,
I
I
was just
mean,
worried about you.
no, I mean, we got the vests, signs, everything else up, I mean.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you, Tom. Okay, communications. I have a couple of emails to read. The first one is from Alan Rom. Yes, for the second emergency exit. The second was from Elliot Coyle. And actually, this is, it's an email from Manager Patterson to me saying, I received a call from resident Elliot Coyle today. He watched portions of the workshop video and he wanted to express the following. He agrees with Art Capuzzi's comments about the proposed statement of support of the environmental legislation. He does not think that the board should be in the business of saying that all residents agree with broad legislation, and the board should focus on local issues. The next is from Madeline Galactic. Although I think it is a very nice idea to donate money from our dues to the Sewickley Memorial Fund, I think that we will be put on a list for other people to ask for donations. It will be a hard thing to say no to other good causes if you say yes to one. So my thoughts are not to donate our dues money to anyone. If we as residents want to contribute individually, that would be acceptable. And last is Patty Shelter. I was wondering, what is the deal with Norm Meaner? For years, he did all kinds of updates out of his own pocket because the township did not help with filling in on his property, etc. He has been here for years, and it is an auto repair business, is it not? Also, you will not find a better auto body business in the country, if you ask me. So, from my perspective, there is still garbage from Sewickley being stored right above his property. This is much more an eyesore when you're coming up Glen Mitchell Road. If you are discussing auto repair businesses, I am seeing a sign for Davis Auto Repair on Glen Mitchell. Was this zoned as a business? Just curious. Several years ago, when Weber's Corners was being kicked around, several citizens were told in the township meeting that a traffic study was the responsibility of the contractor doing the work on Weber Road. It seems like there were several conversations about the safety of the corner of Weber and Glen Mitchell. That is a county property, and I have information from years ago about how a traffic study needs to be approached. I think that is a discussion that should happen in one of the future township meetings, and the building contractor of the development on Weber Road should be looped into this discussion. That's all. All right, planning and zoning.
You have two plans on the agenda. There are two, both, representatives from both applications are here in the audience to give a final, answer any final questions before a vote.
Okay, so the first is a motion to approve the William Eaton Plan of Lots subdivision plan. At the legislative meeting last month, this motion was made and seconded, and it was deferred for 30 days to allow for resident input. We've received no resident input, so unless there's anybody, I'll give an opportunity for anybody in the audience to comment on the William Eaton Plan of Lots subdivision plan. Seeing none, is there any further discussion among the commissioners? All right, hearing none, we'll turn to a vote. Yes means you are voting to approve the William Eaton Plan of Lots. No means you are voting to, well, I'm sorry, does anybody from the William Eaton Plan of Lots want to say anything else?
Not if there's any, only if there's any questions.
Smart. Okay, so then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next is a motion to approve the submitted Verizon covered parking plan as recommended by the Planning Commission and HRG. This motion was made last week at the workshop meeting, and it was seconded, so it too is ready for a vote without further action. However, I'll give anybody in the audience an opportunity to speak if anybody wants to speak about the Verizon covered parking plan. Hearing none, is there any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, let's turn to a vote.
Matt, I just want to, Gwen, do you think I should point this out now? There was a recommendation from the Planning Commission. One of the conditions that they recommended was that we research the question as to whether the developer had an obligation to extend a water line at the time of any future development. And the condition was that we researched, the solicitor researched that question. So I did research that question. It was the recommendation or the condition was by a member of the Planning Commission, Bill Davis. And Bill's been around a long time, so he had a recollection that there was an agreement out there that said if there was future development in the plan, that the developer would extend a water line. So I went back through my file and there it was. It was in 1990. a developer's agreement with 79 North Properties from June of 1990. And it does have a provision in it which says that the developer shall construct and maintain at no cost to the authority an 8-inch diameter water line to be connected to the line installed along North Avenue, to connect with an 8-inch diameter water line on Overlook Drive to service such development. Now, the question is that a condition that you can or would want to impose on the applicant here, who is the tenant of the building, not the owner of the park? And it was also pointed out to me that the request by the tenant, who's Verizon here, does not involve any increased demand on the supply of water. So they're not requiring more water at this time. So it's a little ambiguous as to how you would enforce this obligation. But clearly, it wouldn't be something that you would have to, or I think even want to enforce against the tenant who's made the application to put up the parking canopies. If anything, it would seem to me that this developer's agreement suggests that you might want to approach the owners or the new owners of the industrial park, and you might want to point out to them that this is further development, and they might want to start thinking about how they're going to meet their obligations under this part of the agreement.
Okay.
So again, my responsibility was to research it. I did. I'm reporting it to you. I don't see why that should hold up or create an obstacle to the recommendation to approve the plan. The Verizon plan.
Okay, so do those comments from the solicitor change any audience members' desire to speak on this issue? Yes, sir.
Just one thing,
Come get on the microphone though, please.
in light of it, it's not due because of water consumption. It's due for fire protection and fire flows. That was the reason for looping the line from North Drive to Overlook. That increases your gallon per minute flow in the event that there is a fire. And I do remember when the ordinance, that was my dad he was talking about earlier, not me. That's one of the things they recommended because these buildings up here were so underrated as far as fire flows for the fire demand. And so that would stop any future development. They would have to increase that line. Actually, the parking sheds, it still increases your fire load because they're putting stuff underneath. I don't know the exact details on it, but from what I was told, they're putting items underneath the carports, but they're also putting more vehicles in the parking lot. So all the vehicles in the parking lot create more of a fire load. In the event that there is a fire, one of the vehicles catches fire, they're parked side by side, you have the potential of 1, 2, 3, maybe a whole row of them. But I do, the ordinance was, not the ordinance, the recommendation was for fire flow, not for water consumption.
Okay.
As far as domestic use, the water, they have more than enough water for domestic use, so just the water capacity is not there for fire flows.
Why wouldn't this be an opportunity to approach the new owners and get their opinion and fill them in with the information that Bill just gave us?
Well, I think it is. All I'm saying is, I don't think you have to link the two.
No,
I think you
approve.
could approve the canopies and simultaneously engage the new owner with their contractual obligation at this time. So while I think you, based on the recommendation of the planning commission, as a condition, you might want to include that, a condition that the owner of the industrial park, I can think of language, but I'm not sure. What I'm saying is, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, and I don't think you have to tie one to the other.
Could we hear from Verizon?
Sure.
Hi, Christopher Lamana, project manager for the carports that we're asking to put up next door. What's the question?
No, just saying hi.
Oh, hi. As far as the ownership, I'll be perfectly honest, I found out about it about a week before we went to the planning board. We didn't know that the ownership had changed. We had been asked for a authorization, and then that's when we found out that the owner who had agreed to it had already sold the property. With regards to the water line, I did hear about it. I just don't know how we tie into that, if it's fire protection, understanding that, it's my understanding that that parking lot was already used by Verizon for a similar usage before we moved out of it. Now we're kind of coming back to it, and one of the issues we had with the carports was to keep our trucks covered. And the trucks that are going in there are the ones that we use to dispatch for there are big digger trucks, and we use those for our emergency services. So we didn't, and apparently you guys get a ton of snow up here, so we didn't want them covered. It's basically for foul weather protection. So I'm not really sure how the development of the property, I mean, I'd be more than happy to go back and to my transactions people and say, listen, is your new owner aware of this? And we can certainly provide our contacts to them.
Is this an increase in number of vehicles over prior use when Verizon used it previously?
I actually think it's less because we have less people going into the building than were there previously.
Okay.
By the way, if it influences your opinion on this in any way, I think Gwen pointed out to me that I believe there's been development since 1990, and so far, nobody has invoked this provision of this agreement.
So we have multiple properties affected, or multiple tenants? Okay.
Yeah.
There's no development since 1990, no buildings or anything like that on North Drive since 1990.
Okay, well, I stand corrected, I thought
Yeah,
there
Oh.
there hasn't been. JetNet,
No?
None.
I
Okay.
don't think so.
I stand corrected.
So in essence, no change of use?
No, that's, the planning board pointed out that its original use was there. Truthfully, the only thing we're doing is we're putting some covering over the existing spots.
I think we have draft a motion. I would go forward saying to approve Verizon's use of it because it's not substantially different, and to approach the owner separately.
This information has not gone back to the planning commission, correct?
Correct.
They know that we found this.
They do. And they voted to approve it back, given this information?
Well, they have not met since then. Their recommendation was voted to recommend approval of the Verizon covered parking plan, subject to investigating a possible requirement that the industrial park is to loop the water line from North Drive to Overlook Drive at the time of any development on North Drive.
So we investigated.
And we found information that they didn't consider.
Right.
So it seems to me like this is like, the application that we have in front of us is premature. It seems to me as if the planning commission should deliberate on this and talk about it and make a decision about how they think we should go forward in terms of development, not development. I mean, that's not, we don't have a recommendation from the planning commission given this information.
No, I agree.
If you're gonna refer it back to the planning commission, the only thing I'd point out is make sure that you don't run afoul of any of your 90-day decision deadlines. You don't wanna do that. So I don't know what the timing was on the original application, but Gwen can check that out.
This is a developer's agreement between the industrial park and the authority, not the industrial park and the township.
It seems to me that none of that matters. What matters is that the planning commission hasn't given us a recommendation based on all the information. And that there's new information that they've not considered.
When does the planning commission meet next?
Well, they would meet June 5th. I don't have any current applications right now, but they can meet to talk about this.
And we could, in essence, address this at the next workshop meeting? Matt,
Well, yeah, I mean,
is there a real time crunch?
Just to get the construction started. If it's gonna be delayed, then it'll be delayed. I don't wanna try and push you guys to make a
No,
quick
you're not
decision
pushing.
on it, you know?
yeah, I don't want to mire it down in red tape, but I also don't want to, I don't want to take the role of the planning commission.
Well, it seems like something that should have occurred did not occur in a previous development. True?
I don't know that there's been any
There wasn't
previous
any
development.
development.
I think there have not been a building constructed since that
But
development.
when it was used as a parking lot, if the consideration is fire, it has been used for parking before.
Yeah, but you just heard the fire chief stand up here and say that he thinks there's a different, I mean.
Oh, no,
is that-
but it appears that perhaps this should have been done before.
Well, I think the agreement, and I read it briefly, it's for any future development. And, however you want to word it, this is a future development.
Yeah.
Redoing occupancy for the apartment.
Look, what I'm saying is that we are sitting here right now, burning time, deliberating something that the planning commission needs to do.
Yeah.
That's not what we should be doing now. The chief should have the opportunity to read this, and we should talk to people, and the planning committee should deliberate this, not us.
Right.
So,
Let's refer it back to the planning commission. Can we also simultaneously just reach out to the property owners with a letter reminding them of their obligations? So we're kind of working,
I think that's part of the analysis.
Yes.
well, the planning commission can come back and say yes or no on it. We just say, we have this obligation, we're going to remind you of it, just a very open kind of letter and see how they respond.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't. These are people who are moving in new, we're gonna have to live with them. So I think it's only building the proper kind of bridges.
What, a letter? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
okay, we need to do this decently and in order. So, the motion that's on the table is a motion to approve the submitted Verizon covered parking lot plan as recommended by the planning commission and HRG. Motion was made by Vice President Jones, is that correct?
Says Commissioner Williams,
Okay, so
seconded by Vice President Jones.
Commissioner Williams, are you withdrawing this motion at this point?
I am.
Okay. All right, is there a new motion that somebody wants to make?
I make a motion that the subject matter be returned to the planning board and to enlighten the planning board what the situation is and why it's coming back to them. And to, in addition, get the valued advice of our chief.
Okay, so the motion now is a motion that the subject matter of the Verizon covered parking lot plan be remanded to the planning commission with an explanation of the newly learned information and get the input of the fire chief. Is that your motion?
That's the motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Anybody from the audience have anything they want to say about this motion before we vote on it? No, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Now, is there something else we want to take action on with respect to?
I would say the letter, a second motion, but should that come from the water authority? You said it's an agreement with the water authority, Glenn. Glenn.
I mean,
It is, but
You could come
since
from
I'm
the
the
top.
solicitor for both, you could authorize me to prepare an appropriate communication to be directed to the new owner of the industrial park, advising them of their obligations under the agreement.
I think that's appropriate. You would be doing that in the name of the authority?
Both.
Prepare an appropriate communication to whom?
To the new owner of the industrial park, of their obligations under the developer's agreement of June 1990.
Okay, so the motion is to authorize the solicitor to prepare an appropriate communication with the new owner of the industrial park, advising them of their obligations under the developer's agreement of June 1990. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any comment from the audience with respect to this application? Hearing none, is there any further discussion from the board? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries 4-0 as well. Thank you. I'm sure you're frustrated by this development. I feel bad, but let's,
Well, listen, I'd rather do it the right way than the wrong way.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your
Yeah.
patience.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. Okay, also in planning and zoning is a discussion of the zoning ordinance revision.
that was your
Yeah.
request.
As we're going to be finalizing our comp plan here soon, we wanted to look into revising our zoning ordinance. And I wanted to look into, first of all, if that's in the budget for this year. If not, would like to defer it till next year. If it is in the budget, solicit some RFPs, an open bid. I'd like to get some different input from different contractors on their ideas for an ordinance. There's all kinds of different firms out there with different ideas, and also want to get the best price for the township.
You're recommending that action after the study is complete?
After the SS. I'm just bringing this up to, like, give you a heads up. I would like to look at that in the future, as far as we could look at the budget for this year, figure out what the ballpark is for this, and put out some RFPs this year, or at the very end of this year, if we want to do it next year, depending on what we think the cost is going to be. Do you know what it cost last time we revised our zoning ordinance?
I don't, I'd have to look. And I don't think it's in the budget for this year. I think it would be something that we would budget for once the ASO was complete. So I don't have my budget in front of me, but I don't think there was enough for this year to get it done.
Okay, so you don't want to take action tonight, you're just priming the pump?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else for planning and zoning? All right, tax collector, you're on.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
You should have in your reports the month of April, well, actually the full current fiscal year, of all the taxes collected. So for the month of April, we collected a total of $218,740.65 in total taxes. On pages 3 and 4 of the report, kind of gives you compared April of 2019 to April of 2018. Little difference this year, but if you look on the fourth page, comparing 2018 and 2019, you can kind of see it's pretty similar based on year-to-date totals right now. As far as our account balances are concerned, for the month of April, we had in the PNC checking account $727,105.91. The Pliget, the state funds, the liquid fuels fund is $77,393.44. We have the general investment savings account, $776,374.63. We have a reserve fund of $106,701.65, and then we have a capital improvement fund with $253,493.39. So total monies on hand for Aleppo right now is $1,941,069.02. However, there are various pledged funds and targeted funds that need to come out of that. So basically, you're subtracting the capital improvement, the reserve fund, and the liquid fuels fund. So if you subtract that out, our net operating funds for the month of April is $1,503,480.54. I also provided the sewer bond account and the sewer capital account balances as well. So, any questions about the month of April?
Property tax variance for April is just timing.
I believe so. Some more will probably come in next month.
When you-
Here.
Yeah, or it might be here already.
Okay, so deposit timing.
Yeah, it's most of the differences are timing issues. So.
And so the PNC checking account no longer has $700,000, it has about $100,000 in
Right.
it. They've done some transfers, we paid some
Yeah,
bills.
got it.
All your, I believe all your salt.
Yeah.
Was
sold,
paid.
And we moved the capital, the paving fund money and everything, so I made some moves in beginning of May that don't reflect here.
Yep.
Good.
Any other questions, concerns?
So we're tracking in a slightly unfavorable position, but not bad.
Correct. But again, it all depends on the timing of how things come in. So,
Cash
but
flow.
we're not that far off. So of where we are previous years.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, under finance. I'll let somebody go through the motion of making this application.
Motion to approve April bill on the list in the amount of $95,555.64 to ratify April prepaid bills in the amount of $13,239.70 and to ratify April payroll transfers in the amount of $25,476.14.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Anybody from the audience have anything they want to say about this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Thank you. Anything else for budget, finance, tax collector, anything, money, once, twice? Aleppo Township Authority.
Dancing.
Do you have anything, no, anybody have anything to say about Aleppo Township Authority? Nobody.
Dan didn't leave any notes.
Okay, Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Pull that mic down, please. Thank you.
Okay. This is EMS week. That means it's a recognition week for emergency medical services as well as first responders. So if you see an ambulance or a first responder, take a minute and just thank them for a job well done. It's a good week. At the hospital, there was always some goodies and stuff like that, and they always, got, something so that they're recognized. Another thing is that Quaker Valley reauthorization will occur in 2024. This happens every 50 years. Too bad the Circadias don't come back every 50 years, but this happens every 50 years. Each municipality will be asked to reauthorize their agreement with Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority. So JR wants to begin that process sooner rather than later. He's already been going around, and meeting with everybody, and so I imagine there'll be something, I'm not sure when exactly, so just so that you know that. Robert Morris University will have soon a big 4,000-seat event center over there. I think we've all seen it being built. And Valley has the contract to provide ambulance service there, which is a good thing for them. And Valley does a lot of standbys, the Quaker Valley as well as Valley. So you'll see them like at football games and all different soccer games and wherever. And they've increased their price from $125 to $150. Years ago, standbys were done free. but just like with everything, unfortunately, costs have gone up. They are also, Quaker Valley and Valley are also doing a big aggressive approach on, they're out there wanting to market more and do a lot of more PR by providing a lot of CPR classes and Stop the Bleed. They've been going to a lot of schools, fire departments and whatever, and presenting that Stop the Bleed, which has really been a really great thing. In the month of March, there was an active shooter workshop held over at Valley. All the police chiefs were invited, and it was very well attended. They all kind of got together, and they're planning on having another event sometime soon. So it was a good thing that, you know, the ambulance service started it to get everyone together so they'd all be on the same page. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, QV Cog. I was at the meeting on last week. Nothing to report. They're talking about planning their annual dinner. They had a public works workshop about chainsaws, right? Talked about the CDBG grants. And that's about it. Nothing else to report. Solicitor.
Well, I see on the agenda and I talked to Chris after the workshop meeting that you wanted me to look into the question of enforcing or prohibiting parking on median strips and other township property. I think Commissioner Jones raised it. And is the chief still here? I'm just curious. I was trying to understand how this arises factually, but it would seem to me that you can cite somebody for trespassing for putting their car on the median strip, right? If it's posted, couldn't we post it? I mean, that was sort of my idea.
Can you surmise again exactly where the location is?
Yeah.
It was on the median strip on Swickley Heights Drive, and I think there was a special circumstance, but there was a car parked right on the median
It was a
strip.
medical emergency.
Yeah. But there are other times that it has occurred, no?
No, it was a one-time person overreacted because somebody flew their car up on the medial strip, parked in the middle of it because their family member was dying, and somebody saw it and overreacted to it and said, what the hell is he doing parked on the medial strip, and got a hold of you.
A couple weeks ago, maybe a visiting nurse.
That's a matter of privacy, but yeah.
Okay. And when I,
Well, anyway, what I was gonna say is, I'm sure if somebody parks on a median strip on a township road, I'm sure we can cite them for that. But one of the problems, I think, when you get into the manor, is some of those streets, or if not all of them, are private. And so I'm not quite sure how you can enforce traffic violations on a private road, but we
I
can
think
look
we're only
into
talking
it.
about Swickley Heights Drive, right?
no, I called the manor to see if they had any enforcement capability, and I was told that there's very little to do on a private road. I don't know that for a fact.
That would be correct. I mean, we could not enforce, let me rephrase that. We wouldn't be issuing citations for that. However, I would highly recommend they call 911. We could promptly run the plate, find who's the owner, find a phone number for them, make contact and say, what's the circumstances, what's going on, could you please move it? Without an issue. We would be more than happy to do that.
But on Swickley Heights Drive, in a non-medical emergency, if somebody were doing it from time to time, that is a potential citation?
Well, again, is it obstructing traffic flow? Is it, limiting other drivers' view of turning lanes, things like that? I would say if there's any vehicle parked on the median strip, contact us. We'll be more than happy to ask the owner to move it.
Okay,
Not a problem, okay?
thank you.
No problem.
Anything else, Solicitor?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's turn then to some unfinished business. The first item of unfinished business is line painting and traffic calming. And when last we talked about this, we were gonna have Ben look at it, chew it over, right?
Yes, and we traded voicemails on Friday to get an update, and he said that he is still looking into making sure that he finds something that's PennDOT approved versus just a cool idea. So he doesn't have a report to bring to
Wasn't
us
that a PennDOT
yet.
study? I think it was. Did you forward it to him? Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
I guess that the larger question too, to me, is, you know, obviously, cost and the locations, you know, like what are there any other locations we need to consider this? I mean, right now I'm thinking McCoy and Weber Road, but there may be other locations. So if we're gonna do this, you know, kind of per street basis, get a.
We defined a location with HRG and Tom and I.
Was there
So-
another one?
Well, we have a target pilot.
Okay,
And then Tom had suggested that we also try to identify a contractor specifically for this purpose,
okay,
that even though it appears that it could be done in-house, not a good idea.
okay. Well, we
Correct.
need the right kind of line paint and everything. I thought it could also, you know, if we can get an idea how effective it is, do one street first, kind of monitor it.
Right.
And then go from there and, you know, phase it over some time to
I
get
will
to each
see
street.
HRG tomorrow.
So be more like a phased project if the first part is
Mhm.
successful. That's what I would, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, anything else to discuss with line painting? Okay, so next, motion to authorize HRG to assess and prepare preliminary plans for an emergency second exit from Sewickley Heights Manor concerning Little Hollow and Vecchio Drive. This motion was made last week and was seconded, so it's ripe for a decision without being seconded. You heard in the communications report that we had one resident that wrote back saying he was in favor of this. We heard nothing against. Anybody in the audience have anything they want to say about this? Yes, please.
That would be the culmination of 4 years of concern by your emergency management coordinator of how in God's name I would get people out of the manor if Lawrence's tree falls down over Sewickley Heights Drive.
So
Absolutely in favor of finding an egress from the manor.
for those who are listening at home that can't hear that comment from the audience, the emergency management coordinator has commented in favor of the application.
And Judy, you're familiar with that location?
Yes,
Okay. Because we had discussed 2 different locations.
either one would be.
But this is actually, there's already an easement that's township owned at this location. So it's not, right?
I don't know if it's a utility easement.
Oh, it's
So I
utility.
think it's important that it would be asking HRG to investigate what exactly the easement is and what rights we would have to use it. Is that the way you understand it?
Okay.
Also, the fire company would recommend it as well. We had an incident on Weber Road, and at that time Sycamore Road was closed. So nobody from Weber Road, all the roads up there, Ferndale, Parkway, nobody could get out. We had a tree come down, took the main power lines down. So it would actually be used for both, this not just for the next manor, but also the other residents off of Weber Road.
Okay.
Bill, was there a second location identified for the road?
At the very end of the cul-de-sac.
I'm sorry to keep having you get on that mic, but would you stand up and get on that mic, please?
The second location was at the end of Sewickley Heights Drive in a cul-de-sac. Unfortunately, that goes down to a private driveway, and I think the ownership shared probably by 3 or 4 different residents. I know the other one off of Vecchio Drive is a utility easement, and that was actually part of, I believe it was part of the original plan as a means of egress. But I think one of the owners over there didn't want it.
Okay?
Thanks.
And we need a set of plans to do this? We just can't, we have to have them draft like a right away and, okay, all right. Thank
Well,
you.
the motion here is just to have HRG assess and prepare preliminary plans. So they're gonna,
I just didn't know if we actually needed a real plan. Okay, all right.
okay? Anybody else from the audience? Hearing none, any further discussion from the commissioners? Hearing none, let's turn to a vote. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of authorizing HRG to assess and prepare preliminary plans for emergency exit from Sewickley Heights Manor connecting Little Hollow and Vecchio Drive. If you vote no, you're voting against that. All those in favor say yes.
Yes?
Any
Aye.
opposed say no. All right, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, so next is a motion to donate $250 to the Swickley Memorial Day celebration. This was also made last week. It's ripe for a vote tonight without a second. I wanted to respond to the comment that we read earlier during the communications report from somebody who was saying that they thought that that was something that would put us on a list. I mean, my response to that is that we've now donated money to Swickley for the Memorial Day celebration for 3 years,
10 years.
More than that.
10
yeah.
years.
I mean,
And we do occasionally get other solicitations for donations. Fern Hollow solicits us for donations, and we do donate to them. At one point, I can remember an Osborne Odyssey of the Mind team asking us for a donation, which we did not vote in favor of, although we all love Odyssey of the Mind. So I both agree and disagree. I don't know that in practice we've ended up on a bunch of solicitation lists, although I guess I could see that concern. But I think more importantly, and we talked at one point about a policy for donations. I don't think we ever did that. Did we? Did we ever do
I
that?
think we did.
We did.
Yes,
Mm.
yeah, it's 2 years ago.
I'd have to go find it, but I'm pretty sure we did.
Great. So we have a policy governing donations for private solicitations. I mean, but in any event, I feel confident that the members of this board and the comments from the public can help us discern what are appropriate donations and what are not appropriate donations. And I will personally say, as I've said many times before, Aleppo Township has $0 in its budget for parks or recreation. We spend nothing presently for parks and recreation. Us and our residents are consumers of parks and recreation, and we are not participants in that. Our residents, we know our residents go to Swickley Heights Park, we know they go to Walker Park, War Memorial Park, we know they go to the Swickley Memorial Day Parade. So it seems entirely improper for us to just consume, and never give back. And I think $250 is a very, very, very insignificant sum for us to contribute to be good residents of the greater Swickley Valley. So that's my take, and I'm sure that people can disagree with it. And I wholly respect the resident that made that comment. I know her well, but I just don't see it as a concern in that respect.
And what is our policy?
Let me go get it.
I thought maybe you knew it off the top of your head.
No. But I remember the discussion surrounding it was only to donate to things that benefited the large portion of the residents and that were open to the residents, which is why the Odyssey of the Mind
Okay.
example.
Which both Fern
Didn't
Hollow and
finish.
this
Okay.
do.
Right,
Yeah,
All right.
that anybody in Aleppo can consume the benefit that donation buys.
yeah, as a matter of fact, I recall that Fern Hollow gives some kind of discount arrangement
Like for certain
for
festivals
certain
and things, yes.
festivals, so
Mhm.
it's not 100% charity.
Okay, thank you, that's good enough.
Okay, anybody else on the board have any comments? Anybody from the audience have any comments? Hearing none from either. If you vote yes or aye, you're voting in favor of the of donating $250 to the Swickley Memorial Day celebration. If you vote no, you're voting against that. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. So that motion to donate $250 to the Swickley Memorial Day celebration carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, next. Motion to authorize the solicitor to investigate a solution to allow for enforcement of parking on median strips and other township property. This motion was made last week by Vice President Jones. Are you withdrawing that at this time?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Excellent. Then I guess I should add, you're withdrawing that in light of the conversation we just had?
Yes, question answered.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so then next is a motion for the board to draft a statement in support of HR 763. At the workshop meeting last week, this motion was made and seconded and was deferred until today to allow for public comments. As a footnote, and Mr. Kelly, I think you heard this before, but after you left the meeting last week, there was public comment that we heard during citizen participation. But then even more importantly, Commissioner Dara emailed me. He saw the discussion that we had last week, and he told me that he wasn't here last week, and he told me that he would like to comment on this issue and have the opportunity to vote on this, and unfortunately he's out of the country tonight. So I agreed that I would make a motion tonight to defer this until the June workshop meeting. So I'm going to make a motion to defer this until the June workshop meeting.
Second.
Okay. So that subsidiary motion has been made and has seconded. Now, do you want to speak on this?
Briefly, yes. Mayor.
Sure, I'm happy to give you the opportunity to talk on it.
Oh, thanks. I have two questions to start. One for Commissioner Jones. George, did that list of municipalities that it had already endorsed, was that useful?
Very useful.
Okay. And Art, was the lifetime chart like of what happens in regard to the,
I just saw that tonight, I haven't had a chance to.
fair enough.
Matter of fact,
Okay, here.
I dropped you a response to it.
Okay. No, I just want to thank the board for their effort and consideration in this matter. I recognize that it's really unorthodox, but we live in unorthodox times. So whichever way this goes, I'm grateful. The only other thing I can say is a reminder that here we are with the climate and oceans crisis in our faces, already doing significant damage to the world and our economies, and we need to do something to combat it. CCL, Citizens Climate Lobby, was created specifically to push carbon fee and dividend, which is highly respected by economists from across the political spectrum as a fair and effective way to reduce our emissions in a rate that's commensurate with the threat. So that's basically what we're about. If you have questions, see me after. I know everybody's had a long day.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on the table then is a subsidiary motion to defer the main motion until the June workshop meeting. If you vote yes, you're voting just to defer until the June workshop meeting. If you vote no, you're voting to take up the main motion tonight. So all those in favor of the subsidiary motion to defer until the June workshop meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Excellent, that motion carries. Thank you. We'll take that up next week. Okay, any
So
other,
you're gonna take that up when?
I'm sorry, next month. Did I say next week? Next month.
Okay.
Any other old business?
I just want an update on the lot on Gwen Mitchell, Swickley. I know Dan's not here. Gwen, do you know, or do you know, does anyone?
I have comments from Commissioner Dara. So Wickley did submit an application and the fee. I have comments from Commissioner Dara. I got comments from Ben, the engineer, and I'm trying to condense those into one response to go back to Swickley because they're both thinking they need a little bit more information than what was provided on the application.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any other old business? All right, let's turn to new business. Anybody have any new business?
Perhaps NIMS first?
Sure. So, how do you want it to go? What's the language of the motion you want?
It's not been on a motion, it's just taking up the resolution for the National Incident Management System.
So, to adopt, you want us to motion to adopt NIMS?
To adopt NIMS as our disaster management platform. And there's a specific form requiring your signature, that Gwen has.
I have the resolution. I'll get the signatures. You have it in your packet.
Okay. Okay, so the motion is to adopt NIMS as our disaster management platform and sign the resolution. Happy with that?
You got it.
Everybody else happy with that? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Well, so I guess I should say, I'll make the motion on behalf of our emergency management coordinator. And Vice President Jones has seconded it. So then, with respect to discussion, is there any discussion? I would say as a matter of forum, that while we typically defer action for at least 1 week to allow for citizen participation, Emergency Management Coordinator Haluka has asked that we take this up tonight so that we can meet our county compliance requirements. And we've always said that where time is of the essence or there is a timing issue, we will set aside our rule for delay. I will of course ask though if anybody in the audience has anything that they want to say with respect to this application. No? Hearing none, is there any further
I would
discussion?
Ask if they feel comfortable and understand what NIMS is.
Sure. Does everybody understand, does anybody care what NIMS is?
Well, Judy, why don't you give us 2 sentences?
NIMS,
Come get on the microphone if you're going to do that, please.
I thought I was gonna get away with it more. NIMS is the platform that's used all the way from the federal government, all the way down to the township level, that defines how our Emergency Operations Center functions, who's in charge of finance and response and operations. We're a commonwealth, and so we're a least common denominator. So the responsibility of managing an emergency begins at the township level. No one can come in and help us until asked, and it goes all the way up to the federal level. That has to follow the same format so that our Emergency Operations Center can communicate with Allegheny County, and they can communicate with PEMA, and PEMA can communicate with FEMA. So this is simply a resolution saying that we agree to use the same language, the same codes, the same officer names, etc., so that when we're talking to other agencies responding to our disaster, that we know what each other's saying,
And
basically.
NIMS is?
National Incident Management System.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? So we'll turn to a vote. If you vote yes, you're voting in favor of adopting NIMS as our disaster management platform and authorizing signing the resolution. If you vote no, you're voting against that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Excellent, thank you. So now next, with respect to, let's do EOP next. So motion to adopt
The May 2019 version of the Emergency Operation Procedure for Aleppo Township.
Okay, motion to adopt the May 19th, 2019, the May 2019 version of the Emergency Operation Procedure for Aleppo Township. Is that what you want?
It's required to be reviewed annually. It's required to be readopted every 2 years. So this is our 2-year readoption.
Great. So I'll make that motion on behalf of Emergency Management Coordinator Haluka. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Now, this one, there is no pressing time issue. So I will make a motion to defer this for 1 month. Well, I'll make a motion to defer until the June legislative meeting.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the subsidiary motion to defer until the June legislative meeting. Is there any further discussion? Any comments from the audience? All right, all those in favor of the subsidiary motion to defer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. So the subsidiary motion carries, and we will vote on that at the June legislative meeting. Thank you. Okay, I have a matter of new business. My motion, let me put the motion out there first and then I'll explain it, is to hire technicians to perform AV tasks at township meetings. In the amount of $100 per meeting. Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second before?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. So let me explain this. Thank you, Vice President Jones. As I announced last week, I will sadly be resigning from the Board of Commissioners in June. And there's no secret that this method that we have of recording these meetings and putting them out there on YouTube and setting the digests is one of my pet projects, and I don't understate it when I say it is one of the things in life I am most proud of. So I would really, 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 really hate to see this project die when I resign. And while I have lots of confidence in lots of people around here, I know that it's a little bit more technical than I think I could train anybody to do in my absence. So, with the advice and consent of the township manager, I reached out to the folks who installed the system when we did the upgrade a couple months ago, and just asked if anybody would be interested in taking this job. And we threw out the number $100 a meeting. It was just something we picked out of the air. And the two guys who installed the system agreed that they would be willing to tag team it, and that one of them would come for one meeting and the other one would come for the other meeting. And they thought $100 per meeting was a fair price. So we've worked out sort of a breakdown of duties and how it'll work in terms of what the AV guys do, what Kim, who's always helped on the back end with Kim has done the rock busting of the digest preparation. She's done the big heavy work. And then I just swoop in at the end and spiff it up a little bit. So we'll keep, I don't need to get into the nitty gritty of it, but we'll keep all those things in place. And then Manager Patterson has graciously agreed to start writing the actual digests and sending them out. So the bottom line is that if we approve this motion and we hire technicians to perform the AV tasks at the township meetings in the amount of $100 per meeting, then not only do I think that this really cool, really innovative thing that we've put on here will continue to survive, but I think it will thrive, because the guys that do this, that built this system, they understand the idea of streaming, and I'm really excited to watch what they'll do with it. I think that it'll be something new, and they'll continue to make it be great. So that's the application. It's seconded. I'll make a motion to defer my own motion for 30 days, and defer this until the June legislative meeting so that we can get public comment on that. Is there a second on the subsidiary motion to defer?
Second.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. I guess I should open up, is there any public comment on the main motion?
So we're talking around $2,400 a year.
Correct.
Okay.
Good job, Matt.
Thanks. Anybody else on the main motion? Okay, any board comment on the subsidiary motion to defer?
Just a question.
Yep.
How are we going to handle the equipment, cables, so on and so forth?
That's going to be part of what the AV guys do. So they're going to come in beforehand, they're going to set it up. During the meeting, they're going to do what I do here.
They're going to own the laptops, or do we?
This laptop is the township's. We bought this when we did the upgrade. This laptop is not, but we could use any laptop for this one. This one has got special equipment on it. This one does not.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
We discussed security.
Yeah, okay.
Matt,
So-
you also have a laptop sitting in the emergency management that you could use for the dummy.
Yeah, we could, and we still have the old communications laptop somewhere, don't we? That could be used for this.
It
So
would actually do that one good to turn on every once in a while.
it would, actually, the one that's on the, I mean, I don't know that I love the idea of, I like the idea of the emergency management one just being a unitasker. But you're right, and I mean, this machine can be any computer that has HDMI out, so that's fine. Okay, any other questions, comments? All right,
Yeah, I have one comment. Matt, Gwen, and I did discuss this, and I was quite surprised at how reasonable the offer was, number one. And number two, we've had in the budget for probably 4 years now, improvements to our AV system and getting this in place. This is actually going to be the lowest number in 3 years. That's true. And even the folks that set it up are very excited about continuing to grow its functionality, and they even see this as perhaps an opportunity for them to do it elsewhere. I think that's part of the reason. $100 to come out and do what Matt does is a pretty good deal.
Not that this is a trailblazing activity, but I can tell you that there's been significant impact in particularly the Masonic Village, where some of those people cannot get out, in the evenings. They do listen. They do. I get a lot of questions. I eat dinner with them every night. So I think it's a major step forward in communications. Major step.
well, you know, again, I don't, I mean, we don't need to go crazy with this here, but if we look at the Aleppo Township videos here, last week's meeting got 158 views. That's 158 views for one meeting.
That's 10%.
Yeah. April 15th legislative meeting, 246 views. 100. We're regularly hitting over 100 views, and that's not. It's not inflated. It's not that you're getting odd clicks. It's that people care about these issues. Does that mean that they watched the whole meeting? No, they absolutely didn't. That's the whole idea. Is that I don't want them to watch the whole meeting. I want them to watch the parts that they're interested in. So, again, I'm clearly biased because I clearly care a lot about this issue. But I just don't think that it's anything but good, and I think that for $2,400 a year, if you can do what we've done and you can make it grow and thrive, at least give it a try. At least give it a year or two and see how it does. And if it's not working out, then you don't have to do it. There's not a contract with these guys. I'm sure they'll be happy to be accommodating. All right, so the motion right now is to defer this discussion until the June legislative meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. We'll discuss this at the June legislative meeting. Last item of new business, I will turn over moderation of the meeting to Vice President Jones.
So we've just heard the unfortunate news that Matt will no longer be with us probably in July. And you can already see some of the gaps that will occur as a result of that. But we're going to be very diligent in trying to maintain the initiatives that not only did he feel were important, but we all feel are important. So we do have a process to appoint somebody to fill Matt's position for the remainder of his term. And I would like Solicitor Stone to advise us on the details of that.
Okay, so I did put out a memorandum. I don't have it with me, but I think I know off the top of my head. So basically, to fill a vacancy on the Board of Commissioners, you have initially the resigning, oh, thank you. I do have it. I can even read it. The rule regarding vacancies requires that the Board of Commissioners requires the Board of Commissioners to fill that vacancy within 30 days by appointing a registered elector of the township in which the vacancy occurs. That's here. A vacancy is not created until the date the resignation is accepted by a majority vote of the quorum of the commissioners, or the effective date of the tendered resignation, whichever is later. In any event, the commissioners must accept a resignation no later than 45 days after it has been tendered in writing. As for the term of the registered elector who is appointed to fill the vacancy, the general rule provides that the appointee holds that office until the first Monday in January after the first municipal election occurring more than 60 days after the vacancy occurs, at which election an eligible person shall be elected to the office for the remainder of the term.
Wait,
So,
read that
so
part
that
again?
is, so to correct George, that is not correct. You
So it's the
only
election.
serve through the election, and then you have to run in the next election.
Right.
So you're not filling the balance, you're not fulfilling the balance. of
So you
the
talk
term.
about following May of 2020 or the,
You would
not the
run,
general, right?
no, you would run in the next election would be the next primary.
The
You
primary.
would run in that election.
Which would be 1 year from tomorrow.
The next
Yeah.
primary or the general?
The
So
next,
say they appoint,
next primary will be next May.
okay, so they appoint him, does he have to run again in November?
No, it's not the general, it's the primary.
The primary.
It's after the first municipal election. So the primary is a municipal election.
But the
So that would
general
be
coming
one-
up is before the primary.
No, tomorrow's the primary.
Yeah, that
Right,
would be
but
1
if they
year
appoint
from
somebody
tomorrow.
Yeah,
after,
exactly.
1 year from tomorrow.
Yeah, but what Glenn is
There's-
saying
there's an election in
is
between.
because the general election occurs before the next primary, would they have to run in the general election?
In
instead?
November,
No.
this coming November.
No,
No, the next primary.
it would be the following. So it would be the next election after, right? Until the first Monday in January, first Monday in January, after the first municipal election occurring more than, so yes, it would be next year, not this year.
Isn't that coincidental to the term in this case?
No,
No,
Are you 2020 or
it's a year off.
2021.
2021? So for 1 year less than your term.
Right.
It's confusing.
All right.
But I think that's right, I think, and I can follow up on it, but the point is that you are, if
Because
you,
there's no way that
You're not gonna meet-
95% of the people, other than me, frankly,
can understand that.
no. There's no way that 95% of the people could get on the ballot for a general election if you haven't run in a primary.
That's true.
Unless you did a major write-in.
Well, yeah.
No, but you wouldn't be on the ballot. You'd have to do a write-in for the primary,
Oh, you'd have to do it right, oh, okay.
but to get on the ballot, the only way to get on the ballot if you are a member of a political party in November is to have either been a write-in at the primary or be on the ballot in the primary.
Okay.
So I don't know that that's the case, but I certainly think practically speaking, you would have a huge uphill battle in terms of having a legitimate election.
Read your second
Okay.
paragraph.
Yeah, the term of the register elector is appointed to fill the vacancy. The appointee holds the office. The appointee holds the office until the first Monday in January, after the first municipal election.
See, that sounds like general, though.
That sounds like
That
general.
sounds like general.
Yeah.
The first municipal election occurring more than 60 days after the vacancy occurs.
So
It's
So
still
if the
November
vacancy-
2020.
Still November.
So
No.
it's this November
19.
election.
The vacancy, if Matt resigns at the end of June, July, August, September, October, November, there's more than 60 days until the next election, which will be the general in November. So somebody would need to run at the general in November.
How would they get on the ballot?
They can get on as an independent.
No?
No,
Oh, no, you would have had to have filed in April
right.
Right.
to be an independent.
There'd be no way for anybody to get on the ballot for November of 2019.
No.
You would
So
only
it'd be
be a
right in.
write-in.
Appointed in
Okay.
July.
Right.
You have to
So-
be
so-
right in is the only way you get.
Since I'm monitoring this, could the two of you give us definition of the procedure and the length of the term in this specific case?
Well, I mean, the first part is a little more easy to
Yeah.
explain than the second part. The first part is pretty clear.
Yeah, and my inclination, we may have somebody step forward that is the best person for the job tomorrow. But my inclination is to buy a little bit of time, so I'm gonna recommend to the board that following Matt's resignation, I'm gonna suggest we wait 1 month to accept it, which is legit. So we probably have 60 days.
Okay, a little more.
Sure.
There's a third paragraph to
You're
my
you're
memo.
having way too much fun.
This is me writing. So in short, in short, the commissioners must accept the resignation within 45 days of it being tendered in writing. So we got that part. They can appoint any eligible resident of the township, and the newly appointed commissioner will then serve until the next municipal election, at which time they will run in the primary.
That makes sense.
And following the general, will be sworn in at the next reorganization meeting on the first Monday in January following the election. And will then serve out the remainder of the term of the resigning commissioner. So, my third paragraph answered that. So I think it is the primary.
So in other words, you think that somebody's going to get appointed in August, and they're going to serve an appointed term until the next
May.
municipal primary?
The next May.
May of 2020.
No, there is no
there
municipal
is not.
primary in
Oh,
2020.
whoops.
So it'd be May of 2021. Odd years are municipal.
Right.
So we'll have
And
an
then they would
appointed
be
person
eligible
for a year
for
and
the
a half.
general.
And then they've got to run in the primary.
Which is the end of your term.
Which is the end of the term.
So that makes sense.
That's.
I think we understand it, we need to clarify that, and I think we just answered the specific instance question as well.
All right, yeah, let's,
All right, so
It'd be
big
kind of
gap.
foolproof if you printed out a calendar.
So the obvious is, as we mentioned last meeting, I've already had 2 questions about when candidates could let us know that they're interested. The answer is anytime.
In the past, we've accepted letters of interest here. You can send them to my attention and we'll get them to the board. And in the past, the board has, received the letters and asked people to come in and give a short statement about why they're interested. So I'm happy to receive any letters via email, drop them off, regular mail, however, I'll take any and all letters of interest. Harlan's memo does note that the registered elector must have been a resident continuously for at least 1 year prior to appointment. So somebody has to have been a resident for a year before they're eligible to serve. And an affidavit of residency is required, but that's a form they can fill out.
1 year,
1 year.
so they have to be a resident for 1 year.
so letter of interest, do you need a resume or just a letter of interest?
I'll take everything, because it's for the board. You want more
Yeah.
information to consider
It
everything?
would be nice to have a resume
Yeah.
if someone's going to submit it.
And what Commissioner Dobler and I have done with Gwen's participation, we're trying to define the skill base that we're losing. And to some extent, that could be part of the criteria in selection. Pretty big skill base.
Yes. That's important.
That's it for me.
Okay. Is there any other new business? All right, hearing none. Let's turn to citizen participation. Come on up.
Chris Grimm from 1255 Merriman Road. One thing I want to at least start off with saying thanks for the people that came out for the Earth Day, volunteering their time and cleaning everything up. Because when I come off the exit, it's a lot cleaner, but now it's starting to get garbage because people throwing stuff out the windows. The one thing I want to bring up is we had a vehicle accident down here at the tow lift. Went through the fence, took the telephone pole down. The one nice thing about the Verizon employees, they don't obey the fire chief, they don't obey barricades, they don't obey Duquesne Light. I actually had to call the police officer to come out because I literally had, when the chief had to go for his training, I just sat around because I know they're going to be flying past the house and everything like that. So I was talking to one of the Masonic maintenance guy. There was about 5 cars went around the barricade from the one entrance to go across. There was high power lines hanging down. And like I said, there was 5 cars, got in an argument with somebody about, crossing over because this guy wanted and said he couldn't figure out how to get to work. Everybody has GPS on their phone, most cars do. So I got him turned around, got everybody else out of there, started to walk down. There was about 5 cars more wanting to go around the barricades. So I said, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not, volunteer for the fire or anything like that. So I called the cop, and the cop had the same problem. So they got hold of the road crew, put it down all the way at School Street, and had it closed off there. My other biggest concern is School Street is a, weight limit road. Verizon. Amazon has 18-wheelers coming throughout the whole entire day. The question is, which way are they going? How are they going to get up there? To unload and everything like that. And my opinion, Verizon workers are way worse than Masonic employees the way they speed up and down the road. And like I said, they just go around barricades just to get to work because they say they don't know any other way around. And, luckily enough, Duquesne Light was working on it. They had to stop a couple people. Luckily enough, nobody got hurt with that power line being recharged. And then the other thing too is when you go down School Street off of Merriman, there's no weight limit signs. We had an 18-wheeler. I couldn't catch who it was going down School Street. I was here the one day, when was it, in the fall time or something like that? It was Shred something, left Masonic Village. I literally stopped him because he was going down School Street. And we do not have the garbage people go down that. There's no signs posted going down School Street. There's posted going up School Street. There's a weight limit. I don't understand how there's no sign going down School Street stating there's a weight limit on, School Street. And one of the things too is if the industrial park keeps on growing, if we have power lines or a section of the roads being shut down, granted the paramedics fire can go up School Street because, emergency and everything else. But half of the industrial park's becoming a 24-hour service. They have no way to getting up here. And it was around 4:30 or something, the power line went down. It didn't get back open until about 12 o'clock that afternoon. And Amazon finally had power and they were able to open the road because the high tension line.
So I actually saw Chris, right?
Yes.
Out there that day and was talking to him, and I had to go down School Street because it was blocked. And I noticed that the sign for the weight limit, it's actually at the entrance of Masonic, facing in towards Masonic when you're coming out from Masonic. It's pretty much directed to Masonic trucks. So if you're just driving down past Masonic down to School Street, there's no sign that says there's a weight limit going that way. So I think we need to put a sign on this end saying, don't go down this way for trucks.
Well, a couple of years ago, we had an issue, tractor trailer coming from the bottom. And the state police were there because that's going to Old Borough.
Yes.
And technically, nobody can enforce a weight limit on that road. They can't. That's
Especially the detour.
The state trooper, his suggestion was putting that at the bottom to try to deter trucks from going up, but they can't enforce it. That's Glenfield Borough.
My question is if they can't enforce it, you can't even get a car up there. How are you supposed to get an 18-wheeler up there?
So where do the big trucks, can they go through Swickley Heights if if there was a situation where they couldn't use Merriman to get to 79?
That's all state county roads, yeah.
So they could just go
Blackburn
that
has
way,
problem.
but they don't need to use School Street if that road is closed.
Because I don't know if a lot of yins have went down School Street. That is a very tight, windy road. If you're having an 18-wheeler, that's very tight to squeeze by.
Can we put some kind of sign this way saying no weight-bearing trucks or just something, or?
Because a lot of the Amazon
We
truck
already have one
drivers,
the
yins
other
guys notice it here, they don't know where they're going, and they're just going onto any road. And the township had to pay how much to reopen that road because of the structure of the road. And if you're going to have 18-wheelers going on the road and plus getting stuck on the road, because of the winding turns on the road. And it's, goes in spots in one lane section.
Well, can we put a sign up?
Whatever the board wants, we'll do.
Put a sign up.
I mean, you have the same issue on Red Gate Road.
We just have to put it far enough where they cannot.
Trailers go down Red Gate Road. And
Would-
it's posted.
So Tom, where would you recommend putting the sign? Because obviously, we don't want them going down there having to turn around after the.
So, I'm having a flashback, but didn't we have a lawsuit that involved Glenfield and the state and PennDOT and us over who was going to maintain the who was gonna own and maintain the lower portion of School Street? And didn't we enter into a settlement?
We own School Street, but we can't collect any liquid fuels money for it because you can't collect maintenance money from liquid fuels for roads outside of your municipal boundaries. So we own it, and we was part of a swap to get rid of Deer Run, to have the state take over Deer Run.
Right.
So we own School Street, but it's not in our municipality, so the police don't enforce there because it's in Glenfield. So it's a little bit of a no man's land right there, but we do plow and salt,
Maintain it.
to, do the winter maintenance, try to tackle some of the drainage and just try to keep clear.
So if we own it, can't we post it?
Yeah, we just said we were going to.
The state police patrol Glenfield.
They won't enforce it.
The day that incident, the traffic, the state police,
We can post all kinds of signs as a deterrent, I mean, that's what they are, it's like, hopefully, maybe
It's the same
somebody would
with
see
the-
it
Okay, let's have one conversation at a time, please.
and not deterrent, you can try it as a deterrent.
It would be the equivalent of the watch child signs.
This is almost preventive. We're trying to prevent people from going down and getting stuck. So forget the enforcement, we're trying to prevent them from going down.
So would you like
Well,
us
the
to
sign.
figure out a couple signs that
Why don't you do that?
to be very
Better than nothing.
commanding?
Yep,
Okay.
all right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much,
Thanks for bringing
Chris.
that to our attention. Anybody else? Citizen participation. Once, twice. Anybody else have anything for the good of the municipality? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.